Now, the third kind of trust, I had to go for another A word, is blind trust. I found the word amorotic. I had to look it up. It's a kind of blindness, amorotic. So this is a new word you can put into your vocabulary. Amorotic trust. I think it's a good word because it's a disease that happens with people where they cannot have the same visual capacity. And amorotic trust is where people just blindly trust somebody. They say, oh, well, they appointed that person as the leader, so I'm going to trust them. They will live in one information silo, particularly in the news realm. They will only watch one channel. They won't go to the other channels because they're irritated by what the other people say. And if somebody says, well, this is a fact, and they don't want to believe it's a fact, they'll say, oh, you're one of them, and they will write you off. Amorotic trust is a terrible thing in our world where people have a blindness to truth. Now, it's always been true that people have thought that religious people, Christian people, born-again people, are amorotic, that we're blind to the world, that we're not aware of how bad things are out there, and that we just have this kind of naive trust in things. We've got to demonstrate that we're people of faith, that we're willing to portray the Word of God in the way it is, so that people can understand how it's integrated. We need to admit that there are some things in the Word of God that we just don't completely understand. Hey, Paul said that Peter rather said that he had some problems with some of the things that Paul had said or written. It's just be honest with people, and you will help them out of their blindness. So you can't scold them out of their blindness saying, what are you thinking? You couldn't possibly believe that person or that individual. You're reminding them constantly, you can't believe everything that you see on the internet, which of course is true. But you can't ask instructive questions saying, that's really curious to me. I'm not aware of that perspective. Can you tell me how you arrived at that conclusion? And gently get them to expose where they got their information and say, oh, well, I read in such and such a place or so over here something else. How would you respond to that? And enter into a dialogue with people to draw them out of their blindness. At first, they may build a wall up against you and say, no, you're just bad. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to pay any attention to that. But if you dole it out in small pieces, and people will attribute trust to you more and more because you show up on time. You do what you said you were going to do. You give them the resources you promised them, and you don't say, oh, I forgot. That's how you break down trust, is when you forget and you don't do the things that you promised to do at the time you were promised to do. So you can build the trust that you need and draw people out of their amorosis.